On Sunday, the Justice Factor received a letter from the Congress of the People, COPE, saying that it noted with concern that we have invited one of its founders, Mbhazima Shilowa, to the show. The party said that in terms of the judgment of Mr. Justice Wat Pringle, AJ, handed down in the South Gauteng High Court last month, COPE leader Lekota and other CNC members co-opted by the Congress National Committee remains the only legitimate leadership of the Congress of the People. It said, and I quote, "An approach to these individuals would have been more appropriate for the subject you wish to canvass, as Mr. Shilowa has ceased to be a member of COPE for the past 32 months. Not only is he out of touch with the principles and policies of the party, he has not been involved in formulating its core strategies for dealing with the fundamental issues affecting South Africa. And he is, by order of court, not permitted to speak on such matters, masquerading as a member or representative of the Congress of the People." We believe in freedom of the press here on the Justice Factor. COPE leader Lekota has been a guest on this show on many, many occasions. So my guest today is Mbhazima Shilowa, who speaks to us here as a co-founder of COPE. Mr. Shilowa, welcome to the show. They don't want you. Why do you keep on going back?
Well, I think that I differentiate between what Mr. Lekota thinks and what the general membership of the Congress of the People think. In reality, he knows that the issues are not between myself and him. The issue is about whether or not COPE is going to be a democracy in which members have the right to decide on their leadership, or whether it's going to be a monarchy in which the king dies on the throne. And I'm determined to fight, whether I'm inside or outside of the Congress of the People, to ensure that there is internal democracy and that the many millions of South Africans that we mobilized into the Congress of the People for democracy are not shortchanged.
I have to tell you, though, when I look at it, you've spent 4.5 years in court fighting each other. It's going nowhere. You've just destroyed a party.
I think the truth is that I've never taken Mr. Lekota to court. He left the Congress in St. George's, in which, by the way, Judge Wat Pringle have confirmed that it was a Congress. He left it, went to court. He became the Congress of the court. He left Hartfeld, went to court. The court has confirmed, and we will appeal that aspect.
No, but you've lost every single court case you have brought against
Yes.
Mr. Lekota and COPE.
No,
actually, you have been going after COPE, not them after
no,
you.
Justice, I am saying to you, and you can check for the record, Mr. Lekota is the one who left St. George's, went to court. We did not take him to court. He's the one who left Hartfeld and went to court. We did not take him to court. It's him who, on the 11th of February, 2011, went to court to seek an interim interdict against me, which interim interdict, by the way, for me, comes across more like as a banning order from politics. And I've taken a view that, look, I will challenge it, and the judge did not even deal with it even at this particular moment. And I know that Mr. Lekota, what he's really hoping for is to just ensure that this is never heard, it lapses until after the elections, because then he hopes he can be able to then take people and then say he wants to go into them into the DA, because as you will know, he's currently considered himself not just the leader of COPE, but also that he's the organizer for something called the opposition of parties in parliament.
Well, I mean, those are parties that may speak to each other. But when I listen to you, I'm reminded of the words of Lisiba Seshoka of the NUM, who said in 2008 that you and Mr. Lekota are power-hungry monsters. And the past 4.5 years, many people would agree with me if I said, no, you guys are just fighting for power. This is not a fight about internal democracy.
The people will not agree with you, because I think if it was simply about myself, the Lekota would not now, as we speak, be after the position of Madonsela in Mpumalanga, of Noom in the northwest, of Welita in the Eastern Cape, of Mbulelo Ngetana in the Western Cape. This is more about, he says, unless you're willing to bow in front of him.
I'm reminded of yet another
Yes.
ANC leader like Gwede Mantashe, who said,
Yes.
what you guys are doing, you're unhappy with the result in Polokwane in 2007, and so you're going off because you lost power. Because it sounds like you're split in exactly the same way, and the others have gone and so forth.
Except, I think, Justice, one of the things that South Africans have never been able to answer is this. If you stand up to a bully, you can't say you are a bully. When there is a bully, you must be able to say, we shall not be bullied. I'm standing up together with others to say, we formed the Congress of the People. We said we wanted to fight for South Africans. And to an extent that Mr. Lekota wanted to be his fiefdom, that we must be able to challenge. All we say to him, go to a Congress, allow members to be able to elect their own leadership. And the leadership does not have to be Mbhazima Shilowa. It can be anybody else. Even if he was to emerge as the leader, provided it's done in a normal democracy, we will be able to work with that. But what we will not allow is a situation in which simply using the courts, you then say, I'm going to stand there and be out there. By the way,
no, but it sounds like people here, and I'm not saying just yourself, maybe the faction aligned to Mr. Lekota, if it's a faction, but the judge seems to be saying that is the legitimate cope.
Well, I think it will be important to read what the judgment is, because you will also see that
the leadership that was
yes, Justice, you will also be able to see that it says the Bloemfontein leadership, and the Bloemfontein leadership is not the shadow leadership that Mr. Lekota. In that leadership of Bloemfontein, Hilda Ndude is the national treasurer. He expelled her. She went to court. She won the court case.
She's
the
receiving
Supreme Court,
an MP salary
no. The Supreme Court of Appeal said she must go back. She is not back in that CNC. And Deidre Carter is the acting deputy secretary in terms of that Bloemfontein leadership. If you were to ask what is she doing now, he would say to you she's the national treasurer. So all he has tried to rearrange the decks on the Titanics. And my view is that, look, that we can't allow.
So it's the Titanic, is it?
Absolutely, it's the Titanic, but it's not going to sink.
Why not?
Because I think that...
The Titanic sank.
Of course, the Titanic sank.
And people died.
Absolutely. But I am saying to you that I'm convinced that the majority of the members of the Congress of the People will not allow Mr. Lekota's dictatorship, even if I was to be out of that party. One day, democracy will triumph. And then those people...
But there won't be cope by then.
Well, there will be cope in the sense that I think there won't be cope with him. There will be cope without him.
No, I don't think so. I mean, think about it. 1.3 million people voted for you in 2009.
Yes.
Right now, you have done no preparation for this election. You yourself are not involved in in activities for COPE or campaigning for COPE. You've all been in the newspapers and in the media for the court cases rather than for your speaking on policy, standing up on issues of importance to South Africans. There is no cope, in fact, right now.
The reality is that if you were to go into the Eastern Cape, you will find that there is a Congress of the People led by Kwelita and Khalo, and there is a small task team which he is leading. If you were to go to Gauteng, you'll find that even there is a Congress of the People.
So these are factions of
No, it's not faction. And that's why I was saying, if you were to read the judgment, the judgment says no leadership should be replaced other than by an election. There was a Congress in Gauteng, Eastern Cape, Western Cape, everywhere else. And he says he's going to replace those leaders. So part of standing up to the bully is to say that the people elected even those provincial leadership. If you talk about the Bloemfontein leadership, it must include those leadership. It can exclude me insofar as there is an interdict, which interdict I'll continue to challenge.
Is there any chance of some kind of political solution here?
There has been attempts. There has been a number of meetings. All of these meetings has been scuppered by Mr. Lekota because every time people start talking, the first thing they say is that he must leave the interdict. We must take the matters out of court. And he says, no, we will continue with the court cases, and he will remain the president of the courts. Where in the world can you have someone, say that I'm a president of a country, of a political party, by virtue of the courts? The courts can legalize leadership. It will never legitimize leadership.
You say a lot of things about Mr. Lekota, who is not here to defend himself, but
Yes.
I put it to you that you must take equal responsibility for the mess that COPE is right now.
I take equal responsibility, but I also say that part of the responsibility is to ensure that there is internal democracy. And if it is a sin to stand up to a bully, I'm willing to plead guilty.
How will COPE do in 2014?
Well, I don't know how it will do. It will depend on whether it will be Mr. Lekota's COPE or whether it's going to be a combined Congress of the People in which the membership that he's currently putting out will be participating.
It's too late.
I think people tend to focus on myself, Justice. You must ask them. They'll tell you they've designed a new membership in which they seek to take out close to 500,000 people who were members of COPE to now say by a stroke of a pen, these are not members of the Congress of the People.
So the Titanic has sunk here?
The Titanic will not sink. Maybe Mr. Lekota will sink.
Are you going to join the EFF?
No, I'm not going to join the EFF. I'm not going to join any other political party. But, and this is what we had been working on in the CNC before the court judgment, that it's always important to also look at issues of broader political realignment on the basis of the role of the state in social, economic, and political activities.
A new party is on the cards?
Well, I don't know. It depends on what the membership will decide. But not a new party that I'm going to form. But I'm willing to ensure that we work with everyone on a broader political realignment that takes the country forward rather than taking the membership into the DA.
I look forward to seeing this new party before the elections next year. Mr. Lekota, Mr. Shilowa, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Mr. Justice.
After the break, our winner and loser of the week. Stay with us.
News that moves. eNCA.com.